Alright, everyone, welcome back to the Undrafted Experts, and I'm back with Zach's Mock Draft 3.0, a 2-round mock this time. I was debating on whether I wanted to do just 1 round or if I wanted to expand to 2 rounds, but I think after the combine we're getting to the point where people are looking for 2-round mocks, possibly even 3-round mocks, and I know enough about the prospects at this point to where I can make a somewhat educated mock draft over 2 rounds. So let's go ahead and get going here. Number 1, I'm sticking with Devin Neal. You could throw in Ekwonu instead. Both will be good picks for the Jaguars. I don't see them going edge. It's the best bad choice for them because they do have Josh Allen still, and when you think about it, is getting a second edge rusher going to make the Jaguars immediately better, or is getting Trevor Lawrence some protection going to lead to more wins? I think getting Trevor Lawrence some protection is the most important thing. On to number 2. I still have Detroit taking Aiden Hutchinson. I don't see really anything else they could take here. They've drafted their left tackle or right tackle of the future, depending on where they want to play him, in Penei Sewell. So they really don't need to go Ekwonu. They need help in terms of pressure off the edge. And Aiden Hutchinson, he played at Michigan. You're keeping the hometown kid basically in state. Now, number 3 for the Texans. I had a lot of people complaining about my trade. That's also why I'm not doing trades this time, because they just get too difficult. The whole thing with the trade draft that I did, I made it clear I was just straight up trading picks so that the mock draft would work. If you had asked me what I wanted to give up for each team, I would have done that. But all I got was people telling me how the trade makes no sense and how I'm just giving it straight up, because you guys didn't listen to what I said. If you wanted to know what terms I was going to give up, I could tell you that. But that didn't happen, so I won't be doing trades again, at least this year, I don't think. But I also heard complaints, and I've heard it across many mock drafts. Texans fans have a serious problem with Ekwonu being their pick at number 3. I don't think you guys realize that there's been rumors, there's been some potential contract talks about Laramie Tunsil not being in the long-term future of the Texans. So you could easily get Ekwonu, move Tunsil, save yourself a ton of money, and still have a good tackle. But because everyone's been complaining about it, and I can still see this being a good fit, I'm giving the Texans Kayvon Thibodeaux in this one. I still think he's going to be Jadeveon Clowney 2.0, but that's not a bad thing. Jadeveon Clowney is still a good player. I just hope everyone doesn't expect him to be this unbelievable player in year 1, because you're going to be disappointed just like you were with Jadeveon Clowney. So just keep that in mind. He's going to be great against the run, but it might take a little while to develop his pass rushing skills. In the NFL, at least. I mean, most of his college days, I'm just running over people. That's not really showing a lot of the pass rushing skills you need in the NFL. But anyway, enough about Thibodeaux. On to number 4 with the Jets. Got them taking Ekwonu. This is another team I've heard a lot of complaints about, the whole drafting a corner or taking an offensive tackle instead of taking an edge rusher at 4. If Hutchinson and Thibodeaux are gone 2 and 3 like I'm projecting them to go this time. Who exactly are you taking at 4? That is worth the number 4 overall pick at the edge. I could understand Ajabo. Or not, I don't think Ajabo is a number 4 pick. I don't think Karlaftis is a number 4 pick. Trayvon Walker is sneaking into the top 10 for me, but he is not number 4 overall. Jermaine Johnson is sneaking up there for me as well. He's not worth number 4. So why not take one of the top offensive linemen in the class who can play tackle, who can play guard, who can move across almost every spot on the offensive line? He doesn't immediately have to be a left tackle and steal Mekhi Becton's spot. He could play right tackle, or he could play inside in the guard spot. So just because he's listed at tackle does not mean he can't play other spots. We saw it in college that he can do it. Now, moving on to 5, the Giants. I think it's best offensive lineman available, and that would be Charles Cross in this scenario out of Mississippi State. You've just got to get more protection on that team. It's really bad when you watch the O-line. I could understand going an interior O-lineman, but guards don't typically get drafted at 5 or at 7. And of course, then you're probably going to say, well, why would you take Ekwonu if you're saying he'd play guard? It's the fact that he can flex to tackle. It can flex from tackle to guard on both sides of the ball. He's versatile enough to play all of it. Most players who are playing guard cannot flip to tackle. So, that's the big selling point on Ekwonu for me. But back to Cross. Really solid tackle. I think he'd be one of the top tackles in pretty much any class. But because you've got Ekwonu and Devin Neal in this one, it's hard to go much higher. Moving on to number 6, the Panthers. This is kind of the make it break it year for a lot of the coaching staff. And I think the Sam Darnold experiment has failed. The Teddy Bridgewater experiment a few years ago failed. It's time to get a franchise guy, and that's where they're taking Malik Willis to be the franchise guy that they have needed pretty much since Cam Newton left the first time. You know, if they don't start winning soon, Matt Rule is probably gone. The rest of the coaching staff is probably gone. And a lot of your top players, such as Brian Burns, for example, are probably going to consider leaving in free agency in a year or two. So, you need to turn it around now. And Malik Willis has the potential to do that for you. Now, here at 7, this one might be a bit controversial because of who's available. But I've got Jermaine Johnson jumping all the way up to 7. I've really liked what I've seen out of him over the Senior Bowl, Combine, all of it. He's really earned himself a top 10 selection in my opinion. I know, in the comments you're going to all tell me why that's a terrible pick and I should pick literally anybody else at that spot. But this is my opinion. It may come back to bite me in the ass. I don't really care. Number 8 for the Falcons. This is a weird one because there's many ways I could go. I could go with Sauce Gardner. I could go with Kyle Hamilton. I could go with Garrett Wilson. I could even see Kenny Pickett here, or Jabo, Karlaftis, any of them. Trayvon Walker. There's a lot of choices for the Falcons here. But in this particular scenario, I think they finally have had enough of Calvin Ridley. Not, to say that they don't like him, but more of they know they're not going to have him for a year now because of the suspension. And he's already been dealing with a lot of off-the-field mental health issues, which I can respect it. But as a football organization, they're going to have to get ready to have new receivers anyway, because a season with just Russell Gage and I'm trying to think who the third string is. Can't remember, but Russell Gage and a few other more wide receiver 3 type players is not going to work this year. Especially considering this might be one of the last years of Matt Ryan. You want to start building the pieces for a potential rebuild now. And Garrett Wilson can be that guy. Now, number 9 now belongs to the Seahawks after the blockbuster trade of Russell Wilson out of Seattle. We had heard it for years that it had been rumored it would happen, but it finally did after all this time. But the thing is, at number 9, I'm not giving them a quarterback here. Instead, I'm going with, in my opinion, the top corner in the class, and finally everyone else is agreeing with me. Sauce Gardner, his combine, he ran a 4.45, I think, or something close to that. And with the fact that he reminds me a lot of Revis with elite man coverage skills, and now we know he has the speed to play press man coverage on receivers, I think he can be your next potential Richard Sherman of sorts, or just in general the next elite corner for Seattle for years to come. And now we're back up with the Jets at 10. And this one, maybe this will please you guys a little bit. With how much I get bitched at for not taking edge rushers for Robert Saleh's system, here's one that ought to make Robert Saleh extremely happy. Trayvon Walker out of Georgia ran insanely fast at the combine. And in his limited amount of playing time, because of how good that Georgia defense was, you see the insane talent he has. But because they had so many good edge rushers and D linemen, none of them really had to play a full role on the team because they could just rotate another top tier guy in. I'm telling you, the Georgia Bulldogs team this year is going to go down in history as one of the best teams to ever play football, especially on the defensive side. So, Robert Saleh gets one of his edge rushers for the future. Maybe that'll make Jets fans happy. I doubt it, but we'll see. And then another big trade. The Washington Commanders have traded for Carson Wentz. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's one of the worst trades that the Commanders could have made. I get they wanted a quarterback. I understand it. And I get they weren't that high on this class. Not many people are. But Carson Wentz, that was who you settled on? And you took on his contract? I don't know. I don't know how much of an upgrade he really is. I mean, we've seen more than enough out of Carson Wentz to know how he's going to play. But considering he now has a $28 million cap hit that they have to eat, and Landon Collins has been pretty disappointing for them overall, I think this is where Kyle Hamilton stops falling. I think this is your Landon Collins potential replacement. Because from what I'm hearing, there's a chance he might get cut as a cap casualty. So this would be a great opportunity to get your new, basically plug-and-play safety who has fallen down boards heavily. One, because he's a safety, and two, because he didn't have a good combine. But I blame a lot of that on injuries still, which is what I blame a lot of things on. And I get you're going to say, oh, well, you claim Stingley's not good because of injuries. That's 2 straight years of injuries. Kyle Hamilton had his at the end of this college football season. I'm not too surprised that he's still feeling it. But speaking of Derek Stingley Jr., I have the Vikings taking him here at 12. He might fall further. I've heard that he falls all the way into the 20s. I've heard that from a few people. And it's great to know that people are finally understanding what I meant when I said Derek Stingley Jr. has got a lot of red flags with him. And most of them are injuries. I get the modern NFL is not as heavily hampered by injuries, but there's a lot of red flags with Stingley. The athleticism's there. The talent is there. But who knows if he'll be able to be sustainable in the NFL. And then here we come to the Browns at 13. And I'm going to go down the board a little bit. I'm going to give them Drake London. He has been getting insane amounts of hype amongst NFL teams as of late. To me, he looks exactly like Mike Evans. He doesn't get much separation, but he's big enough to where you throw him the ball in one-on-one, and most of the time he comes down with that contested catch. Is that exactly what Cleveland needs? You can debate that yourself, but we all know they need a receiver of sorts. And if you still think Jarvis Landry can be kind of the separation guy for Cleveland, then you go out and get Drake London to be the one-on-one machine for Baker Mayfield going forward. And then Baltimore at 14. I've been mocking this since I started doing these. Tyler Linderbaum to the Ravens, just it seems like a great fit to me. I don't know why, but he just seems like a Raven. I mean, you got Bradley Bozeman coming up on a contract that's, I don't think they extended him on. So you're going to need a center. You could claim that Trevor Penning could go here, and I wouldn't argue with you, because Ronnie Stanley's been injured the majority of the past 2 seasons, so it would make sense to get your next left tackle or potentially have him play right tackle. But I think Tyler Linderbaum fits a more pressing need for the Ravens right now, because when Ronnie Stanley can stay healthy, he's one of, if not the best left tackle in football. So moving on to the Eagles with back-to-back picks here. I've got them first taking David Ojabo. They're going to want to get some edge rushers. Brandon Graham's not getting any younger. I don't even know if he's on the team anymore, actually. Now I think about it. Haven't checked up on the Eagles roster in a while. But David Ojabo should slot right in for them and be a great contributor going forward. And then at 16, this is going to be your potential Fletcher Cox replacement here in Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, I cannot believe how well he tested. And I've been high on him for a while now, in terms of him being one of my favorite players in this class. And my God, sub 4.8 at 6'6", 340. And has a massive broad jump. There is potential, I will be completely honest, there is heavy potential for Jordan Davis to go in the top 10 or border or top half of the, anywhere from like that 10 to 15 range. I could see him going into any of those teams. He is a monster. You know who he really reminds me of, even though he doesn't play the same? He reminds me of how Aaron Donald was in the draft. Mid-first round guy with insane athleticism. Now, obviously, Aaron Donald is more of a strength freak of nature who just destroys O-linemen, while Jordan Davis is more on the heavier side, doing similar things. But Jordan Davis should be a force to be reckoned with over the next 5 to 10 seasons. Quote me on it. Then number 17 here with the Chargers. I think they continue the trend of going D-line. I get on NFL Mock Draft Database, they have him ranked as number 30. But Devontae Wyatt's going to go higher than 30. He's going to be somewhere in the 17 to 25 range, I would suspect. And the Chargers desperately need help in the run game. Devontae Wyatt can be a key contributor in the run game for them. Even though he's more of a 4-3 lineman, and I get that the Chargers are 3-4, but he should be able to make it work with the Chargers and be an immediate impact player for them. And moving to 18 with the Saints, I had a little bit of debate here between Jamison Williams or Chris Olave here, or even Treylon Burks. But I'm going Jamison Williams. It just seems like a great fit for me. Of course, he could drop further because of the ACL injury, but it's not seeming like people are knocking him much for his injury. Same as Drake London with his ankle injury. Or it was either ankle or lower leg, something in there. Injuries really don't affect draft stock as much as they used to. At least in senior or I guess year before your draft injuries don't affect your draft status as much anymore. But that ACL could be a concern for Jamison Williams, but I don't know if it really will be going forward. And the Saints desperately need receivers. Could go quarterback. You could go Pickett here. But I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to keep Jameis or what the deal is. They've got a couple days now to bring back Jameis, but I don't know. And then the Eagles with their third first rounder at number 19. They still want receivers, it seems like. Still kind of need them. And Chris Olave would be a great option for him. A true deep threat, while Devontae Smith would be more of your route running type. They could be a great dynamic duo going forward. I get that you would think that maybe I would give him to the Saints because the Saints love Ohio State players, especially at receiver. But like I said, it's a toss-up for me on which one to take. I don't really know. Then we got the Steelers at 20. I mean, the story writes itself here. It's got to be Pickett. And I know I'm going to catch flack since I'm a Steelers fan. I didn't give, like, the Saints Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is falling down boards because of his really small hands. I don't know how much is going to be an issue in the NFL, but I know there's just no way Pittsburgh passes up on him at this point. And I just don't know if any other team takes a risk, or a shot at him at this point. Especially because the team I would have given him to at this point would have been the Commanders. So Pickett's destinations are running thinner by the day here. And of course, keep the local kid in his hometown, basically. Keep him in Pittsburgh. Now, on to 21. I heard a take the other day that I actually really like when you think about it. Andrew Booth Jr. to the Patriots is much better than you would think. I know you would think possibly Treylon Burks here. I get it. When you think about it, Andrew Booth Jr. is a man corner who plays very, very similarly to how J.C. Jackson plays. And guess who just conveniently is leaving New England this year? J.C. Jackson. So why not go out and get your J.C. Jackson replacement immediately and Andrew Booth Jr.? Alright, and moving on to the Raiders at 22. There's a lot of ways I could go here. I could see Karlaftis as the edge rusher lined up alongside Max Crosby. I could see Devin Lloyd. I could possibly even see Trevor Penning, but I don't really see why. Treylon Burks wouldn't be bad. But I'm going with Trent McDuffie here. They need some secondary help still. And with the addition of Russell Wilson to an already loaded division, Trent McDuffie would immediately plug in and play against Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Justin Herbert. That's a stacked group of quarterbacks. And if you're the Raiders at this point, you really want to stack up on secondary to try to slow down these elite quarterbacks in your division. And then at 23, I'm keeping the stretch of cornerbacks going here. Kyer Elam to the Cardinals just seems like a great fit. This is also where I can see Karlaftis going. But if I'm being honest with you, Karlaftis I think is going to be similar to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah last year, where he just starts sliding for no reason. He's not that he's worse than any of these guys. It just, people pick other options in terms of positions. Because he's not, he doesn't really flash at you on the tape. Like, he's good. But with the emergence of some of the guys like Trayvon Walker, Devontae Wyatt, you could also throw in a Jabo over this season, Jermaine Johnson. All of those guys have seemingly jumped ahead of him in terms of value in the position, while he's still a good player. So I know I'm going to hear something about how he's falling down the board now. Why wouldn't X, Y, and Z take Karlaftis? I know I'm going to hear it, but just hear me out. Then at number 24, it's got to be Kenyan Green. I took Trevor Penning last time and I got some hate for it. And once I looked further into the Cowboys situation, I kind of get it. Because I forgot about the fact that Connor Williams has an expiring contract. So Kenyan Green would immediately slot into that left guard spot and take over his role. So I understand why you guys got a bit upset at me last time. I'll eat my words for that one. I did forget about Connor Williams. But he should be your starting guard for the next couple seasons at least. And then here at 25, the Bills have a couple ways they could go. You could take Roger McCreary or Kyler Gordon. Or you could do what the Bills have been doing the past couple years and keep building your edge threat, because the picks that they've made in terms of edge rushers haven't been that great. But here could be another swing at it here and grab George Karlaftis, projected number 13 according to NFL Mock Draft Database. Take him at 25. And of course, I did go through and watch a few mock drafts the past few days to refresh myself on the prospects, as well as watch some more tape of my own. So that's why a lot of major changes are going on outside of what you see in the predictive board here. So, continuing on, Titans at 26. I think this is Johan Dodson. They need some speedy receiver help, especially with A.J. Brown, and Johan Dodson can do just that. In the perfect scenario, I think they would love if Chris Olave somehow fell, because he's slightly faster and more of a deep threat in my opinion. But Johan Dodson should be just fine for the Titans. Bucks at 27. They did lose their quarterback, but I have a feeling they're going to go for a veteran in free agency. I don't think they're going rookie, or they're going to try to stick it out with Kyle Trask, though I really don't like that. But at 27, I think Roger McCreary's the move. Looked good out of Auburn. And on a team that got exposed last year when like two of their DBs went out with injuries, getting some depth at the position will be a great move. And now at 28, the Packers have a great couple options to go with here. You've got Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean, as well as Trevor Penning, all three great options at this point. But Aaron Rodgers did officially say that he is staying in Green Bay for at least the rest of his contract. potentially signing an extension, but the rumors seem to be false about at least the numbers. But I would assume an extension would be coming at some point. And one way to make him happy would be to do something that the Packers haven't done in a long-ass time. And that's take a first-round receiver in Treylon Burks. He reminds me very much of Devontae Adams, funnily enough. And he would be a great piece in the Packers offense going forward. Plus, it might, like I said, it'll please Aaron Rodgers that they're finally actually going out and at least attempting to fix the receiver room. Then at number 29, Miami has to take offensive line, and Trevor Penning should probably go higher, but there's not as many teams that are, suitable for him. At least I don't think so. I mean, what team in here really needs truly needs a tackle? Past about 15. Like I said, you could say Penning to the Ravens, then what? The Eagles have their left tackle figured out, if I'm not mistaken. They might not. I'm pretty sure they're not looking to go offensive line in the first place. Chargers have Rashawn Slater, who I think has been playing right tackle, but could be playing left tackle. I haven't watched a Chargers game in a bit. The Saints have Teron Armstead, but of course are possibly losing him. So we'll see. Just a spoiler. They're probably going to take Teron Armstead's successor, at least according to this mock. I've already pre-planned this mock, so I'm not guessing as much. Steelers could get a left tackle, but they desperately need QB, and I see them going out and getting one. Patriots, I don't see them going out and getting a left tackle. Possibly, but I don't see it. Raiders don't really need a left tackle. Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken, don't really need one. The Cowboys don't. Though, of course, I could understand if they didn't need a left guard right now. I could see them taking Penning as a backup. Bills, you could possibly make a case, but I don't think they really need it. Titans, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're not in that big of a need for them. The Bucks, maybe, but I think corner's more pressing right now. Green Bay does not need one. And of course, for some reason that said no, they don't need it. They could possibly want him, but it's a matter of what need is more pressing at this time. So Trevor Penning could easily go 14, and then that changes this entire draft up, because then it becomes where does Tyler Linderbaum end up going? But that's why mock drafts aren't always, supposed to be 100% accurate. All of it's a guessing game at the end of the day. But moving on to Kansas City, I have them taking their Tyrann Mathieu replacement in Daxton Hill. I mean, you could make the case receiver, but at the same time, the only other receiver you really get here would be George Pickens. It's about the only other one I would really go for at this point. I mean, you don't want to go running back again, at least not at 30. Definitely don't need tight end. The edge rusher class is pretty worn out for another 10 to 15 picks. Could go linebacker, but you really don't need one. And of course, you could go with Kyler Gordon instead. But I think Daxton Hill would be a great idea to immediately replace Tyrann Mathieu. Then moving on to the Bengals at 31. This board works out really well for them because Zion Johnson has been rising up boards as of late. And in this scenario, he's sitting there available for them at 31 to fix the interior of that offensive line. The tackle play for the Bengals wasn't terrible this year. The guard play was. So getting Zion Johnson could be a major upgrade for the Bengals at 31. And then at the final pick of the first round here, I have the Lions getting a potential QB1 for the future. And the main reason why I have him taking it here and not at 34 is, one, because the player I'm going to give them at 34 is not getting taken by the Jaguars, or at least I don't think he would. There's a chance, but I don't think yet. And second, the value of having that fifth-year option on a quarterback is very important. You get that at 32, you don't at 34. So Matt Corral will be their QB1 in this one. You could hate me for it or not. I really, like I said, I don't care. All of this is a guessing game at the end of the day. Then, first pick of the second round here for the Jaguars. I'm giving them their starting safety of the future. Another Georgia player that tested really well. Lewis Seen, immediate starter in Jacksonville. Now, this next guy that I'm going to pick for the Lions, this is what I'm saying. You could claim that he would be picked by Jacksonville, but I don't know. And that is George Pickens out of Georgia as well. Potentially an elite wide receiver one. There was talks of him being the best receiver in this class if he hadn't torn his ACL back in spring training. So elite potential is still there for him, and he showed it when he surprisingly came back near the end of the year. So I think it'd be a great pick for the Lions going forward. Potential elite receiver to pair up with Matt Corral. And then the Jets come back up at 35. And this is where the top two linebackers finally stop falling for me. Nakobe Dean to the Jets. A faster linebacker who can blitz and can rush the quarterback. Seems like a great fit for me for Robert Saleh. Now, will Nakobe Dean fall this far? Same with Devin Lloyd. Will they? I don't know. But I don't know how many teams are clamoring for a linebacker right now. This linebacker class is deep, but deep in the sense that it's good past round one. There's no elite first round linebacker in this one. At least not compared to what else is available, in my opinion. But speaking of linebackers, I have the Giants taking Devin Lloyd here. They could use some help in the linebacker department going forward. I get there's obviously somewhere on the line there's going to be someone saying there's more pressing needs somewhere. But I think Devin Lloyd at this point is a great value pick, best available. Someone who you could also say, just like Nakobe Dean, has fallen too far and needs to get picked at this point. Then the Texans at 37. I have them taking Kyler Gordon, corner out of Washington. Has pretty good tape from what I've watched. Not first round grade, but early second for sure. And he'll immediately come in and be probably CB1 for the Texans, considering that team needs damn near everything at this point. Then the Jets come back up at 38, and this is where I get them their future safety in Jaquan Brisker. Marcus May is probably gone, and Ashton Davis is their other safety. Not a bad player, but you can do better. Just trust me, you can do better. Then the Bears with their first appearance in this mock so far. At number 39, I have them taking Bernard Raymond. Need help on the offensive line. They need to protect Justin Fields badly. This is a great opportunity to do so. Then at number 40 and 41, back-to-back Seattle picks because of the Denver trade and then their own pick at 41. I have them grabbing their QB of the future, assuming they don't stick with Drew Lock. Desmond Ridder, he just seems like the type that would be the closest fit in terms of play style to how Russell Wilson was for them. And I mean, I get it. You're comparing him to Russell Wilson, who they just traded away, you know. No one's going to be the same as Russ. I get it. But he's going to play much closer to how Russell Wilson plays compared to Sam Howell, and especially compared to Carson Strong. So, I think this is the better fit for Desmond Ridder for him to develop. And then at 41, could grab Logan Hall, D lineman / edge rusher for Houston. He's played every position on the D line. And he'd be a great fit alongside Shelby Harris, who's now there, to help bolster that Seahawks D line. Alongside Sauce Gardner, who we took for them in the first round. Could be the forming of the next generation of the Legion of Boom. Of course, it'll never be the same, but another great defensive group possibly in the making in Seattle. Then the Commanders at 42. When I first did my mock earlier today, before the Carson Wentz news, I had Washington taking Sam Howell right here to develop him over time. But with the news that Carson Wentz is now the starter in Washington, I have them taking one of my gems in the receiver class, and Christian Watson. I've said it amongst my friends, but I haven't said it on the channel yet because I haven't done a mock that involves him or a video yet that involves him. When I watch Christian Watson's tape, he reminds me a lot of Jamar Chase in college. Does that mean he's going to be as good as Jamar Chase in the NFL? Not even close. I'm not saying that. But his play style is very similar, and I don't know if Carson Wentz is going to be able to unlock it, but I think there's some serious potential for Christian Watson to be one of the best receivers in the league in the next few years. And now the Falcons at 43. I have them taking their next potential QB of the future, Sam Howell. I hadn't thought about it much before then because I thought he'd be gone before this point. But Matt Ryan's going to be gone soon. Why not grab your potential QB of the future and start developing him under Matt Ryan for at least 1 year? Seems to make the most sense for me. Plus, that's one of the better situations for Sam Howell, is to give him a year to sit and learn. And then the Browns are back up at 44. I have them taking DeMarvin Leal out of Texas A&M. We're not sure if Jadeveon Clowney is going to come back in free agency. And if not, you're going to want somebody to play that run-stopping D lineman with pass-rushing abilities. And also could be much cheaper. Marvin Leal was expected to be in the top 10 or top 15 at the start of this year, and he's fallen to the mid-second round, but could still be a great player, don't get me wrong. And then the Ravens at 45. I have them taking Daniel Falalele out of Minnesota, with the announcement that Alejandro Villanueva is retiring, along with the fact that Ronnie Stanley has been suffering with injuries the past couple years. It makes sense to go out and grab a young offensive tackle in Falalele, who could potentially flip over to right tackle and take over Villanueva's spot, or be there ready to go in case Stanley gets injured again. Now we're on to Minnesota at 46. And this is another one that might surprise a few people because of where he's at in the board. I'm giving them Boye Mafe out of Minnesota. 2 Minnesota players in back-to-back picks. He looks extremely good. Can be an edge rusher, but can also play good in that short 5 to 10 yard pass coverage. very versatile in the way he plays and should slot in really nice. Staying in state with the Vikings, should develop into a pretty good player over the next few years. And then at 47, I have the Colts grabbing Darian Canard here. Get a potential elite offensive tackle for years to come. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We're hearing that it could be Jimmy G, that they could make a trade for him. But either way, they could use some help on the offensive line. And Darian Canard could be the guy for him. At 48, I've got the Chargers taking Chad Muma out of Wyoming. Very underrated linebacker who could definitely help out that defense some more. I mean, Kenneth Murray hasn't been all that we expected. He hasn't been bad, but not all that we expected. So Chad Muma could really help out the defensive seven, or the front seven for Los Angeles. And then here are the Saints, and this is what I was referring to earlier. Nicholas Petit-Frere out of Ohio State. It's an Ohio State player going to New Orleans, and this is your potential Teron Armstead replacement going forward. Now, the Dolphins at 50, I went back and forth on what I really wanted here. And I'll be completely honest, I took inspiration from Bengals' most recent mock draft on this one. I do like the idea of this being where the first running back of the class goes and Kenneth Walker. I really like what I see. I like more out of him than I saw out of Breece Hall, to be fair. I get he's projected to go higher, but that's just my take on it. And I mean, the Dolphins need a lot, but do they really need a linebacker particularly? No. Do they really need edge rusher? Not really. Tight end? No. Wide receiver? Maybe. You could make a claim for it. Defensive lineman? Possibly. I mean, that's pretty much what sits here over the next couple picks in terms of proper value. This could definitely be, if I was doing trades, this could be a trade down spot for Miami, acquire some more assets. But because I'm not doing trades right now, I'm just going to give them Kenneth Walker, who could be a great running back for him in the future. Then at 51, I have the Eagles taking Christian Harris. I had him borderline first round just a few months ago, but he has slipped down boards pretty far. Though I still think he's a really good pickup, especially in round 2. Then we have the Steelers at 52. Could be offensive line. I could see it. But I have a different player in mind. It's Perion Winfrey out of Oklahoma. The big thing for me is the offensive lineman after you get past Petit-Frere in this class. It's a pretty far drop-off. Once you get past him at 49, I don't think we're going to see offensive linemen for another 20 picks, possibly even another whole round, because there's not much else there. It's a good class, but it's just a matter of getting proper value. And Perion Winfrey, I think, is going to be a very good D lineman going forward. I think probably a round 2 gem, if you think about it. And I think the Steelers could fix their O-line in more ways than just the draft. You know, Teron Armstead comes to mind. I can't think of his name right now. Brandon Sheriff comes to mind. Both free agents who could help this line tremendously. Ryan Jensen, possibly. So, going and getting D-line when you know that, or a D-tackle kind of player when you know Cam Hayward's not getting any younger. We're not sure if Stephon Tuitt's going to ever play again. We're not sure if Tyson Alalalu's going to be able to play long-term. This would be a great decision for Pittsburgh going forward. Then the Raiders at 53. I have them taking Sky Moore. Relatively shifty receiver. Wando Robinson shot up the board since I last did this. Anyway. Runs a 4-4-1 and could be a really nice piece in the Raiders offense. And I don't really see, once again, I don't see him needing edge. They don't need running back. Don't need tight end. So they're in a really weird spot. And David Bell ran like a 4.65 or something like that. And I can tell you right now, that is not what the Raiders want. They do not like slower receivers. Then Patriots at 54. I have them taking Quay Walker. He's going up boards as well, which I like to see. Because I think he's better than you would think. Once again, same deal as before. Georgia defense extremely stacked, so his role wasn't as big as you would expect. But after the combine and senior days and all that, I don't think he participated in senior day, but particularly the combine, a lot of players from Georgia are becoming popular because of just how insanely talented they are. And then at 55 for the Cardinals, I have Drake Jackson going there. Considering I don't think Chandler Jones is coming back, this could be your immediate Chandler Jones replacement. It's either Chandler Jones or Hassan Reddick. It's been a long day, so I'm trying to remember which one's the one coming off contract. I think it's Jones. Yeah, he could be an immediate replacement, an immediate starter there for the Cardinals. Then at 56, I have the Cowboys taking Jalen Petrie out of Baylor, in-state safety for one. And the Cowboys still need help at the safety position at the end of the day. And he could be the player to fix their problems at the end of the day. Bills at 57, I have them taking Darian Kendrick, who has gone up in terms of ADP as of late, which I like to see. He should end up being a very good corner considering the cornerback room in Buffalo is aging. Needs some younger players that could be potential CB2s, even CB1 going forward. I think Darian Kendrick has the skill to do that. Falcons back up on the board at 58. And I have, where'd he go? Myjai Sanders going to the Falcons. Cam Thomas actually went up the board since the last time I saw him. But I think Myjai Sanders would be a good fit in Atlanta. He had a bad combine because he was dealing with illness, so that might hurt him a bit. But I don't think he's going to be as bad as most people think. I'm not that high on him, but there's also a ton of great edge rushers in this class. So it's hard to, it's hard when you think about the fact that he's being compared against Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Jermaine Johnson, Trayvon Walker, David Ajabo, George Karlaftis. There's another one if I'm not mistaken. Boye Mafe. I mean, there's a lot of, and Drake Jackson as well. There's a lot of good edge rushers in this class. So even being a good edge rusher in this class is not amazing on tape, just because of how deep this edge class is. But speaking of edge players, this is going to be the last one in this mock for me. Cam Thomas to the Packers. Seems like a good fit to me. Plus, without Zadarius Smith, he could possibly take over his role on the team. Number 60 here for the Bucks. I have them getting one of my sleeper picks at linebacker. Damon Clark out of LSU. I like what I see. He's got the physical attributes to be great. And at 60, you really can't go wrong there, in my opinion. At number 61, the Niners make their first appearance in this mock. And I have them taking Tariq Woolen. He's ranked 92, but he ran extremely fast. And the Niners do favor faster corners. Or faster players in general. So, seems like a match made in heaven in my opinion. Plus, they could use some corner help at the end of the day. And then Kansas City at 62, I have them going with David Bell. I know David Bell didn't run fast, but do the Chiefs really need another really fast wide receiver? No. They need someone who is a bit more physical and just a good all-around receiver. And that's what David Bell can be for them at the end of the day. And here come the Bengals with the 63rd pick in this draft. I have them taking Tyler Smith, who actually fell down a lot more than he was. I think he's going to be pretty good as a starting tackle. I know I said that the main issue on the Bengals O-line was not tackle play, but at the end of the day, every position on that Bengals team could use upgrades. And now you're at the point where, like before, at 31, there wasn't another tackle that took until 39. And then after that, took till 45. You weren't going to take a tackle at 31 when Zion Johnson was sitting there. Now, it kind of makes sense to go and get a tackle for the future. Then at 64, with the final pick in this mock draft, I have the Denver Broncos grabbing Travis Jones out of UConn. I get there was a lot more on the board. I get you could have gone all up, but you could have even gone Trey McBride at tight end. Now you don't have Noah Fant. But Travis Jones should immediately fill the void that Shelby Harris leaves behind after going to Seattle in the trade the other day. And with that, that is my mock draft 3.0. Took me multiple runs of drafting to get to where I am. Here's a quick recap for anyone still watching. I know there's going to be some questionable picks here and there, and I get there's going to be people who have issues with this mock. I've come to terms with that. But let me know how you guys think, if you think your team would do anything different. As long as it's a constructive comment and not just this draft sucks, like tell me what you'd rather your team do. And then with that, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next mock draft. Have a good one.